February 4, 2010. A family of 4 vanishes from their California home without a trace. The dogs are left in the backyard. Half-eaten popcorn sits in bowls. Eggs rest on the kitchen counter, as if someone was about to cook breakfast. For 3 years, America wondered, where did the McStays go? The answer would come from the desert. 2 shallow graves. 4 bodies. And a betrayal so profound, it would shake our understanding of friendship itself. This is the story of how greed transforms a trusted friend into a killer. And how the human mind justifies the unthinkable. Joseph McStay was living the American dream. At 40, he ran Earth-inspired products, a successful custom water fountain business. His wife Summer, 43, was a licensed real estate agent. Together, they were raising 2 sons, Johnny, 4, and Joseph Jr., 3, in their Fallbrook home. According to court records, at 7:47 p.m. on February 4, 2010, a neighbor's surveillance system captured the bottom 18 inches of a vehicle leaving the McStay property. It was thought to be their 1996 Isuzu Trooper. That grainy footage would become one of the most analyzed pieces of evidence in the case. At 8:28 p.m. that same evening, Joseph's phone made its final call, to his business partner, Charles Chase Merritt. The call went to voicemail. Merritt would later claim he was watching a movie and didn't pick up. What happened next would baffle investigators for years. The family simply vanished. No goodbye texts. No withdrawn cash. No trace. Reporter Tony Shin, who covered the case for KNSD-TV, described the scene. The house looked as if someone had beamed them up to the Starship Enterprise. When Joseph's brother Michael climbed through a window on February 13 to check on the family, he found the dogs alone and food rotting. He waited to call authorities, thinking maybe they'd just gone on vacation. It was a decision that may have cost crucial evidence. By the time investigators arrived, the home had been trampled by well-meaning family members. Joseph's mother had cleaned the kitchen. The computer had been removed. Potential evidence, gone. But there was no blood. No signs of struggle. No forced entry. Journalist J.D. Crichton noted authorities found nothing that suggested violence. Then came the Mexico theory. Searches on the family computer revealed queries about traveling to Mexico with children and Spanish language lessons. Surveillance footage from the San Isidro border crossing appeared to show a family of 4 matching their description entering Mexico on February 8. Joseph's mother Susan Blake thought, well, maybe they took off. But Joseph's father Patrick wasn't convinced. He insisted the footage wasn't them, noting that Summer was afraid of Mexico. The case went cold. For 3 years, the mystery deepened. November 13, 2013. An off-road motorcyclist riding through the Mojave Desert near Victorville makes a horrifying discovery: human bones protruding from shallow graves. Investigators from the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department soon confirmed the worst: all 4 members of the McStay family, buried approximately 100 miles north of their home. The cause of death: blunt force trauma to the head. Buried alongside the bodies, a 3-pound sledgehammer, believed to be the murder weapon, along with a child's pants and diaper. San Bernardino County authorities determined the family had died from injuries inside their Fallbrook home, though remarkably, no trace of blood had ever been found there.
Slowly, as we start peeling it back, then we realize at that point that we've got 4 victims out here. So it was at the end of the second day that we're able to get dental record comparison done and determine that the 2 adults were identified as Joseph and Summer McStay.
Summer was found with a broken jaw. Joseph and both sons had fractured skulls. The missing persons case had become a quadruple homicide. And investigators had a suspect. Charles Chase Merritt wasn't just Joseph's business partner. He was his friend, or so it seemed. The two had met through Joseph's water fountain business. Merritt was a welder, a fabricator who created the metal frameworks for Joseph's custom installations. Reporter Tony Shin described their arrangement. Merritt did the welding, creating some of the metal work, the fountains, and Joseph was the businessman behind it all, and from all accounts, he was flourishing. Publicly, Merritt told CNN's Randy Kay that he and Joseph were best friends, playing paintball together and sharing dinner several times a week. But behind the scenes, something darker was brewing. Merritt had a criminal history, felony convictions for burglary and receiving stolen property. Most recently, a 2001 conviction for stealing $32,000 worth of welding equipment. In early 2010, Joseph had begun cutting Merritt out of the business. The work was sloppy. Money was disappearing. 3 days before the family vanished, Joseph sent Merritt an email stating he owed the company $42,845. Joseph was also negotiating a potentially $9 million deal and was looking for a new welder. Here's where psychology meets motive. Merritt wasn't just losing income. He was losing status, friendship, and identity. For someone already financially desperate with a gambling problem, this rejection may have triggered something catastrophic. When Merritt was arrested on November 5, 2014, prosecutors believed they had a compelling case. The evidence was largely circumstantial, but as prosecutor Britt Imes would argue, it was overwhelmingly convincing. The financial trail. Someone wrote 9 checks from Joseph's business account totaling nearly $15,000 to Merritt or people he owed money to, checks backdated to February 4, the last day anyone had contact with Joseph. Prosecutors alleged Merritt knew this detail precisely because he was the killer. Even more disturbing, someone called QuickBooks customer service claiming to be Joseph McStay, requesting to delete the entire account. But the phone used belonged to Merritt, not Joseph. The caller couldn't provide the proper passcode. The physical evidence. Merritt's DNA was found on the steering wheel and gear shift of the McStay family's abandoned Isuzu Trooper near the Mexican border. The cell phone records. Merritt's cell phone pinged near the desert burial site on February 6, 2010, 2 days after the murders. Prosecutor Britt Imes stated, "All we know is that his phone pinged on the 6th on a tower that overlooked the gravesite." The psychological slip. In interviews conducted before the bodies were discovered, Merritt referred to Joseph in the past tense. San Bernardino County District Attorney Britt Imes noted Merritt seemed caught off guard when this was pointed out. He also claimed on CNN that he was definitely the last person to see Joseph alive, a strangely specific assertion that raised red flags. San Bernardino County Sheriff Sergeant Eddie Bachman explained, "That kind of cued into us as a red flag there because I don't know how any one person could be certain and say that he was the last person that saw his best friend alive if he wasn't in fact the last person who saw him alive." The trial began January 7, 2019, in San Bernardino, nearly 9 years after the murders. In a moment that would haunt the courtroom, prosecutor Britt Imes slammed the 3-pound sledgehammer onto a speaker's stand twice, the sound reverberating through the room. He told jurors, it was blow after blow after blow to a child's skull. A 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. That is an intentional killing, that willful, deliberate, and premeditated. His closing argument was devastating. To understand the context of why a man was so self-centered, so greedy, would kill someone, and would kill 2 young children, you must have context to all the surrounding evidence. The defense countered forcefully. Attorney Rajan Malin insisted, "Let's make no mistake about it, Mr. Merritt is innocent." Defense attorney James McGee warned jurors, "When you convict an innocent man, the guilty go free." The defense pointed to the lack of blood evidence at the home, questioned the cell phone data, and suggested other suspects had been overlooked. Merritt's girlfriend testified she provided him an alibi for the night of February 4. On June 10, 2019, after a trial spanning more than 4 months, the jury reached their verdict. Guilty on all 4 counts of first-degree murder. Merritt closed his eyes and looked down as the word "guilty" was read 4 times. Sobs came from the packed courtroom. Someone called out. Yes. What makes someone murder not just a friend, but his entire family, including 2 small children? The answer lies in a psychological perfect storm. Merritt was facing what psychologists call identity threat, the loss of his role, his income, and his social standing. Add desperate financial strain from a gambling addiction, and you create conditions where rational thought collapses. Prosecutors discovered Merritt had gambling problems and wrote checks totaling more than $21,000 from Joseph's account, then went on gambling sprees at nearby casinos. This wasn't just about money. It was about power, control, and narcissistic injury. The killing of the children is particularly revealing. Prosecutor Britt Imes posed a haunting question during the penalty phase. There is no motive that can be ascribed to the killer of a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old that passes muster. Were they witnesses? Or were they killed simply because Merritt had already crossed a moral event horizon where human life had lost all value? Patrick McStay, Joseph's father, captured this horror when he told American Greed, he killed somebody that trusted in him and gave him a chance when a lot of other people knew he was a crook, and then he kills my grandsons, brutally. On January 21, 2020, Charles Merritt was sentenced to death for the murders of Summer, Johnny, and Joseph Jr., and life in prison for Joseph's murder. Before sentencing, victim impact statements painted a devastating picture of grief. Joseph's mother, Susan Blake, addressed Merritt directly, "This despicable, evil monster. How could you beat 2 precious little babies? How scared were they, Chase? Crying for mommy and daddy? You had a choice. Chase, you are a low-life coward and a baby killer." Patrick McStay's words were equally powerful, his voice breaking. "I hope you burn in hell, but I will pray for your family and your children, as they are to me all innocent victims." He reminded the court that Joseph had even paid Merritt's bills twice when he was in jail, keeping a roof over his family's heads. Merritt maintained his innocence. "I loved Joseph. He was a big part of my life and my family's life. I would never have hurt him in any way. I would have never raised my hand for a woman or child. I did not do this thing." Due to California's moratorium on the death penalty, Merritt currently resides in the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego, where he continues to work on an appeal. The McStay family murders remind us that evil doesn't always announce itself with fangs and fury. Sometimes it arrives wearing the face of a friend. 0. Someone who sits at your dinner table. Someone you trust. Author Caitlin Rother's recent book raises important questions about the evidence, including potentially flawed cell phone tracking data. The case remains controversial, with unanswered questions lingering. But what's undeniable is this: 4 innocent lives were taken. 2 small children who never got to grow up. Parents who never got to watch them graduate, marry, or have children of their own. As Joseph's son from a previous marriage, Jonah McStay, said at the sentencing, "Ultimately, I hope to be a father, and when I am, I will hold my children close. Closer still, because I know what it's like to lose people I love. The desert keeps its secrets. But the pain? That echoes forever." If you found this information helpful and want to explore more true crime cases with psychological depth, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue bringing you well-researched, respectful coverage of these important stories.